Stephen Horsford is a Democratic congressman from Nevada. So let's start with that. Is there any equivalence whatsoever between what's happening in the Veterans Administration and the administration of the Affordable Care Act, in your view?
No. What's happening with the Veterans Administration is wrong. There clearly is wrongdoing that could even include criminal actions, and do need to be held accountable. I have about a third of my constituents in Southern Nevada who are veterans. You know, we talk all the time about supporting our men and women who have served our country. Well, the way to do that is to show action, and what we need right now is to fix the problem.
Yeah, and let's start with some of the problems, because putting aside the current scandal, which is really horrible. I mean, people with long wait times, some people allegedly who may have died waiting for care. Let's just talk about the VA itself. You've had your own experiences with the agency and frustrations. Tell us a little bit about that, because you've actually written to the VA talking about your own inability to sort of get answers in your own for your own constituents.
Well, I've met personally with Secretary Shinseki and other leaders in the VA administration. I sent a letter along with Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid in February asking for a formal meeting because I have a rural community, Pahrump, Nevada, that has been waiting for more than 2 years to get an outreach clinic built. It was funded by a prior Congress. It's in the budget. We've been waiting on a piece of paper to be signed by the Secretary and haven't been able to get a call back, let alone help for my veterans out in Pahrump.
So that sounds like a sort of bureaucratic nightmare that is caused by what? Is it understaffing? Is it underfunding? I mean, having looked at this issue and dealt with them for, as a member of Congress, what do you think is the core of the VA's problem?
Well, it's a large bureaucracy, and I'm not a defender of the VA or any other federal agency. I'm a defender of my constituents, in this case veterans, who have waited a long period of time to get benefits. We have increased wait times at our local VA hospital, which is in my district. It's one of the first comprehensive hospitals to be built in 17 years, and it's located in my congressional district. So what we need is the VA to be more responsive, to be customer service oriented, and to really care for the needs of our veterans.
I want to play you what a veteran himself, former United Bob Dole of Kansas, had to say, because a lot of the focus, I think at least the media focus and a lot of the focus among people running for office and who are already in office has been on Shinseki himself and whether he needs to go. Take a listen to what Bob Dole had to say.
Well, I have mixed feelings because I know General Shinseki. I've said I think he should stay. And I think particularly he should stay until the White House gets this investigative report that they're doing, until we get the facts and see what you can lay at his feet.
A very measured response from Senator Dole. What is your view on whether or not the administration needs to remove Eric Shinseki as head of the VA in order to start the process of moving the agency forward?
Well, first, I respect Secretary Shinseki and his service. But look, this isn't about the Secretary. This is about our veterans who need to be served by the VA. I do understand that the administration is waiting to get the full investigation and the report so that they know all of what's wrong, so that we can fix what's wrong and to hold everyone accountable. There may be more people than just Secretary Shinseki who need to go, and my view is we need to do whatever is necessary to hold those accountable.
I think one thing that people do worry about, because everything, unfortunately, that goes into Washington eventually becomes a partisan squabble. This, in a sense, doesn't feel like it. I mean, you've had John Boehner be pretty much as measured as Bob Dole. You've had a lot of Democrats be very harsh in their criticism of Shinseki. Is this one of the few issues on the Hill that is kind of bipartisan?
Well, I sure hope so, because it should be about our men and women who have served our country, who we've made promises to, and it's time for us to keep our promise to them. Our veterans need to be the first in line for employment, for quality health care, for housing, and right now that is not happening. They're waiting too long, and it needs to stop. It needs to end, and we need to fix the problems now.
No, indeed. And, I would be remiss of just having here if I didn't ask you on a completely different note. You are obviously the representative whose district includes the home of one Cliven Bundy and his militia friends who streamed in from outside of your state and who've been occupying federal land near his ranch. Are those militias still there? If so, how many? And what really is going on to try to do something about that?
Well, I've been working with the local sheriff. We talk on a regular basis. We now have a smaller fringe group that is remaining. According to press accounts and the sheriff, the FBI is undergoing an investigation, and Cliven Bundy and others who have broken federal law will be held accountable like any other U.S. citizen that's broken federal law or refused to pay their fines or their fees to the federal government.
When you say a small number, how many approximately people are left?
What we've heard is between 20 or so militia. But this is a small community of only about 12 or 1,300 people in Bunkerville. They're not used to having these out-of-state people with armed weapons in their community. They want them to leave so that their community can go back to normal.
Well, here's hoping that that gets resolved, but also very importantly for the whole country that the situation at the VA gets resolved as well. Congressman Stephen Horsford, thank you so much for being here. Good to have you.
Thank you, Joy.
All right. And